Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. We are going to read another scary creepypasta story. This one is by Daniel Christopher. It's called A Haunting, The Lady in White. I believe in curses. I believe in demons. I believe in monsters. Penny Dreadful. Oh, I love that movie. Oh my God. It's like a series. I love it. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, you should really see it. Let me know what you think when you take a look at it. It's really cool. It's a subject that is hard for me to talk about. It's a subject that still haunts me from 17 years ago. My family moved into a way older house that had a history of bad blood. A history dealing with war, a history dealing with betrayal and murder of a woman in white. I want to start by saying I am a believer of the afterlife and of spirits. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Lucifer. But I do believe that there is something beyond this life. I was 10 years old when we moved into the house in the country, and even at a young age, I didn't like living there. I didn't like why at the time I was a kid. I didn't know why I didn't know why at the time I was a kid. I wasn't the one to judge and focus on good or evil. I still don't judge. Who am I to know what's really good or evil? It was a nice house for being how old it was. If the circumstances were different, I probably would have loved living there. But that wasn't the case. A lot of the area in Ethel, Louisiana had a lot of history behind it. Some good, some bad, but mainly bad. I'm getting the chills typing this right now. My little brother and I had the upstairs bedroom, which was cool. They were very big, and we had a lot of room to mess it up with all our junk. I think the entire time we lived there, I never slept in my room. My room had this enormous hole in the wall. It scared the ever-loving hell out of me. I slept downstairs in the middle room, or I slept on the couch in the living room. It was summertime when we moved into the house, so my brother and I spent a lot of time outside. We started school and things died down until we were robbed, which was in late September. We lost our dog Miko because he wanted to be a hero and went after the robbers, which 17 years later, we still don't know who robbed us. Sometime later, I still refused to sleep in my room because of the gigantic hole in the wall. My uncle and my dad decided to fix the hole, finally, which gave me some relief, as this time I was sleeping with my brother in his room. Well, my dad decided to actually walk into the hole, and he came out with a book with a pentacle on it and white candles. So before I knew about witchcraft, I knew that what he brought out was not a good thing, and that put the final nail into the coffin. I did not sleep in my room, period. Back to school. We went to school with a lot of our family, and I brought up where we lived, and a lot of them freaked out because the house was haunted by a deceased woman. I try not to state her name because it still gives me chills. The house itself gave off a upsetting aura, and it still bothers me. Sometimes later, I think it was in the fall, I was in my room downstairs watching TV. My brother was walking down the stairs, and he fell. Luckily, he was safe, but I remember him telling me that he felt like something had pushed him down the stairs. It was very unnerving since I kept seeing a lurking shadow around the house, and especially upstairs, the one place I never liked being in or around. Oh, I thought there was black makeup on my top eyelid, sorry. One night, my uncle and his girlfriend at the time stayed the night, so my brother and I slept downstairs in the middle room. We ended up fighting like siblings do. I don't know if I dreamt it up or if I am still crazy over this. We settled down, and the only light coming in the room was from the moon shining through the window, and my brother was asleep. I was still up, looking at the ceiling, and the next thing I know, a white ghostly figure comes gliding, rushing, whatever you want to call it, came into the room and started choking me. I could not move. As she was choking me, all I could do was cry. I tried to scream and nothing came out. Her face is still embedded into my memory. Her transparent face. It looked like the face of hurt and anger, all rolled into one. Her hair was disheveled and her dress was tattered and torn with the dirt marks covering her dress. It was only a few seconds, but it felt like forever to me. The lady in white disappeared and I could finally call out to my parents. I could not sleep for the rest of the night. My parents, well, my mom in particular, believed me that I had been attacked because the night before my mom saw some spirits of her own in the backyard. Everyone else, on the other hand, thought it was my imagination because I was a kid. A few days went by and I finally got to the point where I could sleep and not be worried about the lady in white. I started sleeping in the living room so I was closer to my parents. It made me feel safe, well, for the week. I think it was a Saturday night, and my parents and my grandparents and my parents' friend and my uncle all came over for a bonfire. Me, on the other hand, I was playing video games in the living room while everyone was having fun. They had their fun, I had mine. We did not discriminate. I remember pausing LOZ, Ocarina of Time. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I am not a game person usually. Sorry. And looking into the hallway, there was a black shadow standing next to the stairs. I called out to see who it was, and no answer. The shadow just stood there staring at me. Chills went up and down my spine. I shut the hallway door and tried my hardest to ignore the shadow. I started playing LOZ, Ocarina of Time. Again, my heart started racing. I saw the shadow looking at me through the tiny crack in the door. I started screaming bloody murder and my grandmother came running in. I told her what happened and must have realized that I was telling the truth because she comforted me while I cried. The next day I started begging my parents for us to move. I couldn't stay in this house anymore. I was scared out of my mind. They told me no and to quit overreacting. I did not feel safe in this house. We went to my great aunt's house a couple days later and she asked us how we liked the house. My mom said she liked it and my brother and I hesitated. Our great aunt noticed this and asked us why the hesitation, and we told her about what had happened to us in the house. Her mouth dropped and said the myth was true about that house. Her husband's great aunt had been murdered in that house the day of her wedding by her husband. It freaked me out because I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew my mind wasn't tricking me like everyone else was trying to make me think. The woman in white was an actual flesh and blood person who was betrayed by the person that took until death, literally. I wouldn't stay in the house anymore, but being I was now 11, I couldn't do anything except the fact that I was stuck in that place until we moved. It was a welcome to hell moment, and all I could do was make the best of a unfortunate situation. December came around, and our spirits were happy and unnerved by the haunting in the house. My entire being was happy by the fact that nothing had happened since October. Maybe it was the season of the dead that made her active, or whatever the reason it might be. Whatever the reason it might have been, she left me alone, and I couldn't have been happier over that thought. Then it happened one morning. My mother, my brother, and I had just gotten back from the grocery shopping. We had everything put up. My mom screamed out our names angrily, and we came running. The entire kitchen had been ransacked, and all of the newly bought food was thrown out into the yard with the side door wide open. She blamed us, but we had been playing video games up until she yelled for us. The shadows started appearing again, and it was never a pleasant feeling. The lady in white, she started showing up again also, but she wasn't as violent as the night that she attacked me in bed. After finding out about her story, I felt sad for her. A couple more months passed on, but it only got worse. And even though my dad saw the lady in white in the shadow, he lived in denial. It had been a year since we moved in, and, well, the environment of the house went from happy to angry. That's the thing about spirits, is they actually feed on the negativity in the house. That's what makes them stronger and makes them able to, like, physically, as in shove you down the stairs like they did your brother, or choke you like they did. We ended up moving after the year mark because the landlord and my dad got into it over him coming into the house when we were not home. After we were done packing, I looked up at the window to my brother's room and saw her in the frame staring at us. I was finally happy to be out of that house. I felt sorry for the next family that moved in. Not a day goes by that I don't see her face. It will forever be embedded into my mind. I hope one day that house is destroyed and the lady in white and whatever the shadow is will be set free. I hope so too, because that's really sad that she's still stuck there, because it could be the black shadow that's actually forcing her to do all these bad things. Usually they can actually manipulate the good spirits in the house and use them to their advantage, such as having them attack you or pass messages or anything along. So sadly that happens to be the case sometimes. Hopefully she can find peace. Maybe it's the evil dark shadow is probably her husband, maybe, after he died long ago. And he got stuck in the house with her for eternity as a punishment. I guess we'll find out. Hopefully they create a part 2.